The bounty hunters. "Move it! Move it! Move it!" she hisses in ACAS as they pull their prey through the water as fast as they can before the prize drowns. They breach the surface of the small room used to store materials in the dry and open the bag. Out flops the oddly heavy Tret, and he's already making good work on the binders around his wrists. The fact he'd resisted the sleeping toxin some 2 minutes into its use was astounding but hadn't meant much as he was already in the sack. "Sorry, darling. Don't worry, though. You'll learn to love it. After I've squeezed a few daughters out of you, you'll bring me quite the payday, and then you're off to some silly tramp that doesn't know the benefits of love them and leave them. Men are just too high maintenance for a career girl after all." She all but purrs down at the struggling figure. He had fine boned features, almost aristocratic, and a healthy tan with strong limbs. He clearly took pains to take care of himself and had an adorable amount of hardness under the tiniest film of softness. Jessa, he wasn't alone. Do you think? Mills, one of her lesser AKA sisters, states, "Girls all fin, no finesse." That was the problem with recruiting in a new place. You couldn't get the best of the best. You had to get the silt on the bottom first before you could filter out something worthwhile. We went through 3.5 districts in seconds flat. No one could track us through that. He's ours, Jessa states calmly. The squirming little prize tries to say something through his gag. "Oh, you have something to say?" He nods. "I'll give you one chance then. If you scream or spit at me, it's going back on," she says, and she removes the clot hand. He gasps for a moment to get his breath. "Oh, thank God, it's been bothering me for so long," Itchy says with a gasp before rallying himself with a wide smile. "You've got something on your face." "Just sort of under your cheekbone, on your left side," he explains as her hand comes up and she scratches a bit. "I took a laser shot to the face and the scales are still replacing themselves," Jessa says, utterly off balance by the completely casual conversation from her kidnapping victim. "Oh, okay. Wait, that's all shark scale? Damn, that's gonna hurt. That shit's sharp," Itchy remarks. "What? No. AKA scales run axiom through them so they cut or refuse to as needed. Almost every race has this. Why would you think that? Wait, you want to have sex with me? You're cute and forceful. If you weren't a mad bomber with a 320,000 bounty on her head, I'd give it a shot." He proposes, and it takes a moment for what he actually said to sink in past the sheer dissonance of his utterly carefree tone. "You know my bounty. Wait, why are you so calm?" Jessa asks, and he squints at her. "You are one Jessa Fleet scale, right?" Itchy asks, and she nods. "Then I have no reason to panic. Everything's going according to plan." "Oh, really? And is being kidnapped and trapped in a tiny room without a breathing apparatus to escape into the water part of that plan?" she asks incredulously, and he nods. "There's something up, but it's a Tret. He was surrounded by Tret, and that's all. No way things could be according to his plan. What is his plan anyways?" "Check the perimeter. Get the girls on alert. Something stinks." Jessa orders the spined AKA to her left. "Oh, come on, sister. He's bluffing. You can see him shiver with the effort of the lie," Mills protests. "Actually, I'm shivering from the cold. We're very, very far away from the warmer waters," Itchy remarks. "Unless someone would care to warm me." "I'm cold to the touch, lover boy," Jessa notes as she examines him. Short-sleeved shirt made of thin plant matter in jet black. Pants made of a thicker plant matter with a tight, almost armor-like weave, and a pattern that suggests brown and green vegetation. Thick boots laced at the front, armored in the toes and with the pants tucked in. The only thing odd is his belt, or rather, its buckle. It's made of kutha and has strange markings worked into it. While the metal alone is worth a lot, there's a definite flow of power. But nothing had happened. "You know, if you want it to come out, then you just have to say so." "What does that do?" she asks, pointing at the belt buckle. They're called pants. They cover my lower body and provide protection from minor damage and the cold. Not that. That, she points again. A belt. It helps hold up the pants. What the depths makes you think it's a good idea to provoke a woman like me? Jessa demands. Because I've got you right where I want you. Oh, really? She asks. Yeah, really. He answers simply before grinning. It's been a couple minutes since you heard from Mills, hasn't it? Normally that sort of thing would take a few seconds, but it's been nearly 3 minutes. She actually glances back and into the building. He's right. Too much time has passed and it's much, much too quiet. She ducks under the water and makes a quick check of the area. She's alone. Her small team of 6 girls is gone. She rushes outside and looks through the currents. A couple of Mara nearby. Local lowlifes. She's seen them before. Nothing to worry about. The area is quiet and calm, unnaturally so. Hey! What? The Mara with the bluer hair calls back. The depths are going on. Where is everyone? Jessa demands. What do you mean, where's the depths? The second Mara asks before looking around and is seemingly shocked at the lack of activity around. What's going on? The first one asks. I don't know, but it'd be stupid to stick around and find out. Let's go. The second one says, and the 2 girls swim off in a hurry. Oh, some help you 2 are. Jessa mutters before quickly swimming one way then another. Then she rushes back into the apartment safe house and towards the dry room. Starting to figure it out? Itchy asks her the moment she surfaces. He's free and sitting comfortably with his back against the far wall and his hands behind his head in a relaxed pose. What's going on? What have you done? She demands, and he chuckles. Now, what would be the fun of telling you? He asks with a smirk. What are you? She demands in a fury. Nothing's going right and it all leads back to him. She was so sure seconds ago, but now, I'm a demolition specialist, he says. I'm the guy who makes things go boom. He says, pulling out something from behind his head and smoothly moving to sit forwards and hold out the glass jar full with a clear fluid to her. Will that? She asks, suddenly aware of just how dangerous he could be. Care to find out? He asks, and she considers for half a second before swatting the glass jar out of his hand. It shatters on the floor harmlessly and spills out the water he'd scooped up with it. That could have easily been a chemical explosive. No, it couldn't. I don't know where my girls went, but I'm not falling for you little mind games, Tret. You're here, surrounded by millions of tons of cold water on all sides. This one little room has air scrubbers enough to keep you alive, but you can't leave. You can't even breathe on this deck without help. Lady, we're on a space station. We're all getting help to breathe, returns the thoroughly unintimidated Itchy. Yes, but you need extra help. Keep telling yourself that. You may even convince one of us eventually. He returns and she ducks back under the water again and swims away before immediately returning to spy on him. I'm not stupid, he says simply. She goes still, just under the water and listening hard. Your ear is still poking out of the water and your hair is spread out over the area. She departs again, and this time checks the communicator. This is too much to be a coincidence. This is too much to not be planned by someone somehow. The Tret has admitted that he's bait, and there's no telling just what. She shakes her head as a feeling of utter lethargy overtakes her and things seem to go woozy. She floods her system with Axiom and fights off. Whatever just happened. How had that happened? Has someone tainted the water? There are so many filters that there's movement behind her and she turns to face whatever's coming only to come face to face with a massive suit of blue and green armor that immediately grabs her by the shoulder and punches her in the head. Then a strange current pushes out from the armor and her head swims even further until darkness overcomes her. Several minutes later, the massively armored arm of the class of armor nicknamed the Walking Subwaves to Itchy, and he nods before diving into the water next to it. The huge suit points to another walking sub that's unfolded along the back and open to the water. Andrea and Roth quickly help him into the suit and it seals up before draining of water and filling with air. Well, that was entertaining. Is everything on the up and up? We got the prize and her lackeys are sleeping off the tranquilizers nearby. If this went any cleaner, the water would be soapy, Bike says over the comm. System and Itchy nods with a grin. Bit of a shame this one. The mermaids are cute, Itchy remarks, and there's the sound of scoffing and annoyance all around. They're called AKA Dumbass. Bike answers, and from the readouts he's actually in the other walking sub. Hey, quick question, can the girls hear me? Itchy asks, gesturing to Andrea and Roth. We can, Roth says, and Itchy gives them a salute with the armor. Well then, let me just say thank you for all your hard work today. Clearing out the local area and playing lookout is an awesome contribution on a job like this. Oh yeah, you girls gave us room to move around and have fun and also acted as extra sets of eyes on the problem. Short of doing all the work yourself, you couldn't have contributed more. Bike compliments them. And God knows we don't want that to happen. I happen to like playing mind games and stomping around in power armor. Itchy jokes somewhat. You would, wouldn't you? Bike teases. What's that supposed to mean? Oh my God, you two shove a sock in it. Grab the damn bounty and haul her to airlock 94 before she drifts into the filters or something. Pukey commands them over the comm, and both men chuckle as Bike quickly leads Itchy around and pulls the unconscious and thoroughly tied up Jessa and tosses her over his shoulder. You know, synthesizing bulk amounts of riot control poison is more than a little weird. It shouldn't have worked that well. Roth notes out loud. Well, this is the fun part of taking apart most criminal gangs or hunting bounties. There's always a weak link to exploit. Granted, that's true of most everything, however there's... Itchy's explanation is cut off when something big swims overhead. A Lydris. What's she doing here? Bike asks curiously. What am I doing here? What are you doing here? The furious Leviathan of a woman demands, and both Roth and Andrea instantly scatter, gone in an eye blink. Stupid bitch grabbed me to use as a rape toy and then intended to sell me as a slave. So we're returning the favor and selling her to some people that really, really want to get their hands on her. Fair's fair. Itchy calls up as the enormous 10-bodied Lydris slowly drifts down. She's nothing like the thunder thought of Vuxa. There's no madness or disunity in her many faces, just 10 identical angry faces from 10 different angles. For a moment he briefly wonders if this is 2 on 1 or 10 on 2. You're bounty hunters, she hisses in rage. And if we are? Bike challenges, inwardly grinning as the IFF shows that Dong, Pookie, and Mr. T are approaching in the other walking subs. Then you die, she spits. Bring it, Itchy remarks immediately. She brings it in a screaming charge of fury to the impertinent Itchy, who catches the blow and skids across the floor. Unfortunately for her, water tends to more even out the weight of things, and a walking sub is power armor designed to let someone fight sea monsters in hand-to-hand, and she's just not as big as a whale. Or rather, she's not much bigger than a killer whale, and that's several size categories too low to easily deal with a walking submarine. Spikes, Itchy orders, and instantly gripping spikes extend from his boots, and an unholy screeching sound rings out as he stops dead and then grabs onto the attacking Lydris and tosses her away. At the internal pressure from his own attempt to move, the suit retracts and extends the spikes as needed, allowing him to turn but rendering him all but unmovable. Get going, Bike. I got this, Itchy says as the furious Lydris charges at him. See if you can get her talking, bragging, boasting, threats and stuff. She scared off Mustard's girls, but they're not really the leg breaker types, so maybe they're just playing safe. Bike says as he engages part of the walking sub and wings pop out the sides and mini turbines spin up. It's loud, it's obnoxious, and it lets him go like a bullet even as Itchy catches the Lydris. However, she seems to change her mind partway and makes for Bike, but Itchy holds on tight to one of the bodies, and the whole serpentine monster woman whiplashes back. She goes ballistic, and in seconds nearly 50 nails are scratching against the armored face plating on the walking sub, and the others start scrambling for the latches. Seconds later, he's torn out of the modified civilian-grade power armor and being screamed at by the thug. In return, he slams the axiom through his system and then the top of his head to slam it into her face and pours the axiom in. The stunt works as it strengthens the connection between the many separate bodies of the Lydris, and all of them reel as one as his one brutal headbutt is suddenly 10. Her grip slackens and he pushes downwards in the water and hooks into the walking sub with his feet. He quickly pulls himself in and reactivates the suit. Moments later, he's tasting sweet, recycled air once more. Prep emergency rebreather. He orders the systems and a device he bites down on is raised to his face. The bite activates it and it unfolds to cover his mouth and nose while stretching around to the back of his head to magnetically clamp together. It's not a moment too soon as the Lydris has regained her senses and is screaming as she tears him out of the armor again. "I'm going to rip you limb from limb." Unfortunately, due to the rebreather, he can't answer with an appropriately snippy bit of sass by explaining that she's going to try. So instead, he just grabs her by the hair and slams her face into a brutal uppercut. End result has him holding a blood clump of hair and 8 Lydris bodies grabbing onto him and pinning him to the deck plating as the 10th screams in pain and fury. 2 bodies are each holding down a limb, and the second to last body is helping check the injured one for the extent of the damage. "You're fucking dead, Tret. I'm going to rip off your limbs, and if you have the balls to survive, I'll be putting those to good use in your new career as my personal dildo." She hisses at him before lowering to his level with her injured head as she glares at him from 20 eyes. She then pokes and holds down the button to activate the tiny speakers in the rebreather. "Any last words?" "Only that you missed an operative word in your threat, sweetheart," Itchy says, and she blinks in confusion. "You're going to try to rip off my limbs." She scowls at him in a fury, and he's ripped off the deck and they start to pull in every direction. "Maybe I should take this little mask off. See how confident you are without a gasp to breathe." Seeing as how she's not pushing the talk button, he can't give her an answer she'll understand nor even see his smirk. All her eyes are on him, not on the 3 suits of revved-up power armor walking up behind her in near silence. Water does wonderful things. Blunting impacts and allowing things to walk more quietly is but one of them. Now, she begins before one of the 3 bounty hunters behind her grab on and activates an electrical current defense. She starts to twitch and throws him away as she screams. He spreads out his arms to slow the movement and starts swimming fast towards the twitching Lydris as another of the power-armored bounty hunters rushes up to the heads and unleashes a series of low-grade tranquilizers. The Lydris breathes it in and falls unconscious quickly. "Good stuff. It's almost universal down here," Itchy notes. "Works quite well on the gills," Mr. T remarks calmly. "That's why we deployed it. A low-grade soporific inhaled through water. Sleep-wake is used all the time in underwater riot control," Pukey remarks as he starts scanning the girl. "Mer's not. Nothing over 5,000. She's a thug that left well before things went to hell." Itchy presses the talk button on his rebreather just as something starts ringing in the side pouch of one of the bodies. "I'll get that." He quickly swims down to the ringing device and picks it up. It's a waterproof communicator. The caller is labeled simply Boss. He puts it on audio only. "Hello? Who are you and where's Mers? I'm afraid the big girl's a little worn out. Dead tired and will be sore in the morning if you catch my drift," Itchy says with an enormous grin behind his rebreather, even as Pukey facepalms softly enough to not be caught by the communicator. "I see. Well, once she wakes up, tell her that I can see you through the camera, smartass, and she'd better be alive or I'm gonna eat your heart." She threatens. and Itchy squints to try and see if he's actually reading the title right. It does say boss on the communicator. It's just some sleepwake. She could breathe it for hours straight and be fine. Good. Now get out before I kill you. Okay, who exactly is threatening me? Itchy asks. If she could actually see them, she'd know there were at least 4 people nearby and a 5th making a clean getaway. I'm the woman watching you right now. Are you? Give me a name, lady. A random threat from a random voice over a communicator isn't very scary. I am the Lady of Dark Waters, acting queen of this section and ruler of... And what are you when you're not playing pretend? Itchy demands. The call cuts off. It could have been a legitimate threat. Pukey rebukes Itchy. Not likely. She claimed she could see us, but then forgot about you guys. That's beyond bizarre. This was all a bluff. At most, Mers is the leg breaker of a minor gang leader, one that has a lot of bluster but not the sense to use threats they can back up. She knows where we are but doesn't have eyes on us, so she's tracking the phone, Itchy says before holding it out to Pukey, who places it in a small container on the side of the armor. It's supposed to be for picking up seashells and bits of coral, but it works for a waterproof communicator. Right. Either way, we're in hostile territory. Get back in your suit and start moving. Pukey orders and Itchy nods before frantically swimming. By the time he's back in the suit, he can't help but notice that he's so cold his skin is ghost white. He ups the heat somewhat, and the walk back has him biting back curses from the sensation of pins and needles as he warms back up.